Hello, and welcome to Let's Study Tacoma. This is going to be a quick video, just a little appreciation of some of Tacoma's most innovative and interesting features. Tacoma, released in August 2017, is the second game by the small independent studio The Fulbright Company. It follows their well-regarded, if somewhat polarizing, 2013 debut game, Gone Home. In Gone Home, the player explores an empty house, gradually piecing together the story of where its inhabitants are by examining objects in the environment, particularly notes, calendars, and journal entries. This sort of journal entry-based game storytelling was pioneered way back in 1994 with the first System Shock game, a progenitor of what we would today call the immersive sim genre.
When we destroy the cameras and CPU nodes, Shodan loses some of its control over the station functions, at least on this level. I think I can restore manual control in the hospital.
Immersive simulation is a term coined by Warren Spector, describing his 2000 game, Deus Ex, who used it to describe games that are all about how you interact with a relatively complex environment, in ways you find interesting, rather than ways the developers think are interesting.
I didn't know we'd be fighting a war.
There's no real necessary and sufficient conditions we could set up to more precisely define the immersive sim, but some usual hallmarks are complex maps and complex AI behavior, which together mean that there are a wide range of ways to deal with enemy threats, ranging from combat to evasion to conversation. Along with being thick with alternative routes around potential sites of conflict, the environments of immersive sims are also thick with detail, which means that the genre has frequently stood as the gold standard for environmental storytelling.
If any survivors can hear me, please. Some of us are still resisting Shodan. We have a sanctuary in Beta Quadrant, guarded by a radioactive trench. There's a force bridge that operates off a wiring panel.
Like Doom, the maps of immersive sim games are filled with secrets, but unlike Doom, these secrets are just as likely to be a bit of story detail, as much as they are medpacks or ammunition.
Ms. Chow, we are reassigning you temporarily. Put the long-term agenda on hold until VersaLife has met its deadline.
By 2013, when Gone Home came out, the BioShock series stood as the most popular inheritor of the immersive sim tradition.
Where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small.
Several members of the team that would eventually make up the Fulbright Company worked on the downloadable content campaign Minerva's Den for BioShock 2. And if you squint a bit, you can see how Gone Home fits into the same lineage. It is, in a way, an immersive sim that has been stripped of its combat. Describing Gone Home in this way is a bit controversial. When it came out, it was lambasted by a certain hardened segment of the game-playing population as being not a game. Some claimed, to use a term that originated as a pejorative, but has been subsequently adopted by some developers as a term of art, that it was merely a walking simulator. This seems rather silly to me. There has, after all, been a long history of adventure games, particularly on the PC, that blend storytelling with exploration and light puzzle solving. It's pretty easy to place Gone Home into this lineage. Basically, it's a hybrid. A story-driven, non-violent adventure game that also references the first-person immersive sim tradition. This dual lineage continues in Tacoma, where, if anything, it has been made more clear. Tacoma acknowledges its debt to the graphic adventures of yore by naming one of its characters Roberta Burt Williams, after Roberta Williams, the game designer, who invented the graphic adventure with Mystery House, established the Sierra style with the King's Quest series, and pioneered the full-motion video graphic adventure in her Phantasmagoria series. On the immersive sim side of things, Tacoma tips its hat to System Shock, with its space station setting, AI characters, and fondness for using emails to tell its story. Another debt to the immersive sim legacy can be found in Tacoma's use of featureless, monochrome figures to relay past events to the player. This is by far the most notable mechanical addition that separates Fulbright's sophomore game from its predecessor.
I have righted the station's orbit.
In Tacoma, these figures are thoroughly explained in the game's fiction as augmented reality records of crew activity, part of the terrifyingly invasive surveillance powerful corporations subject their employees to in this cyberpunk future. But they share no small amount of similarity to the ghosts that occasionally act out prior incidents in System Shock 2
It's Bronson Enterman.
and in Bioshock.
Too spliced up. I'm too spliced up. Nobody's gonna want me.
That said, the ghosts in Tacoma exhibit one major change over their precursors in System Shock 2 and Bioshock. The staging of their movements is much more complex.
We're not all gonna get cancer or bone disease.
Is everything okay?
I suppose I am preoccupied with your potential.
While ghosts in those earlier games tended to stay clustered in one area, the AR recordings in Tacoma are spread out over multiple rooms. Characters will break off of a conversation, head to another room, have their own private conversation, while the characters they left behind will continue to converse. There's a constant forking and rejoining of lines of action, making it impossible to stay in one place and watch the scene unfold, as one could do back in System Shock 2, for instance.
Finish off the survivors.
So, along with storytelling mechanics pioneered in the immersive sim genre, Tacoma also steals a page from immersive theater.
Clive, may I come in?
That's tremendous. 8 months.
Now, parallels between video games and immersive theater have been long pointed out. Going all the way back to the 1990s, pioneer new media scholars such as Brenda Laurel and Jenna H. Murray wrote about games within the context of theater. The author Michael Nitsche has pinpointed the Half-Life franchise as especially theatrical, given that it is based around theatrical staged actions that are enacted on a virtual stage.
Anti-mass spectrometer to 105%. Bit of a gamble, but we need the extra resolution.
In contrast to something like Half-Life, the theatrical resonances of which were only brought up later by critics and theorists, Tacoma was built from the ground up, with immersive theater as a central influence. In multiple interviews and statements, Fulbright founders Steve Gaynor and Carla Zamonja have specifically named the punch-drunk theater company's Sleep No More, an immersive theater adaptation of Macbeth that has been staged in hotels and several site-specific showings, as a central inspiration. Gaynor offers the following description of Sleep No More, which could double as the description for Tacoma. Some performers might come through, and they might cross paths and do a scene together. And then someone else comes in, and they all split off. You, as the viewer, can obviously only be in one place at one time. So you follow the first person to see where they went. You have no idea where the other people went. However, there is one big difference between Tacoma and a piece of site-specific immersive theater such as Sleep No More. In Tacoma, you can always rewind the actors, following someone new this time, to get a sense of the full scene. Here's what this looks like in action.
Time is oxygen, people. Break.
I can't believe everybody went along with this.
I'll head downstairs and get started on it.
Oh my god.
Okay.
So now we actually have to build
Hey,
this thing.
Andrew.
Clive,
That was the point.
wanna talk?
Hold on.
Sure.
Are you okay?
Evie. Hey, Evie. Hey, I know you're all like gung-ho to help us out and everything, but I did the math. If we could get this done in like 48 hours, not 72.
Could the rest of us wait longer to go in?
Exactly.
Listen, ladies, I get it. You're trying to do right by us, but every minute we wait to go in is a minute you don't have to get this thing flying. And knowing what we know about VT, we've got to give you every chance we can to succeed.
So there's no way we can convince you?
We made a plan. Now we just need to hold up our end of the bargain.
Then I guess we should stop wasting time and get to work.
This is gonna be good, Evie. You just wait. Ride of your life.
More ways than one. Okay, where do we start?
Did you?
What do you mean, end?
Come on, Clive.
What?
You really think they can turn that thing into a passenger vehicle in 2 days? We might as well hold our breath and just try dog paddling over there.
But...
Listen, it's okay. Odin, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out.
Close your eyes.
I did already.
A light wind rustles the green tall grass. Your skirt billows gently. Warm sun caresses your back.
What do you say, folks? Yay or nay?
Obviously, we're on board.
I'm in.
Me too.
Okay.
All right. Well, we non-essential personnel need to figure out how to do everything we can to set this mission up for success. Then get the hell out of your way as quickly as possible. Time is oxygen, people. Break.
I'll head downstairs and get started on something.
Okay. Hey, Andrew. Andrew.
Yeah.
Hey, are you okay?
Evie! Hey!
Nope,
Evie.
I'm not.
Hey,
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I can't do it. I can't. This is all crazy.
But you said you...
I know. But what was I supposed to say? You all pressured me.
Andrew.
They really expect us to climb into some jury-rigged thing and ride it through space? Just...
More ways than one. Okay, where do we start?
Start? I got things started as soon as this all went down. I'll show you what I got lined up. To the workshops!
This is a difference that most reviewers noted when describing Tacoma. It's also something that Gaynor himself pointed out in multiple interviews. But although I can't in good faith say that the feature has gone unnoticed, I still think that it's easy to miss how radically it actually changes the experience of Tacoma from the standard experience of immersive theater. To make this case, I'm going to turn to a 2013 article by the theater scholar Adam Alston entitled Audience Participation and Neoliberal Value. The language we use to describe immersive theater, Alston notes, is usually organized around notions of freedom. Immersive theater gives us the freedom to move in aesthetic space. But alongside this freedom comes associated risk. In order to successfully witness the juiciest events in a theatrical performance such as Sleep No More, an audience member needs to be savvy enough to know how and where to find them. Sometimes, Alston writes, this savvy attitude involved remaining in one place for the action to arrive, while at others it meant meandering through the seemingly vast resources of the BAC before stumbling across a scene or wandering character. Movements throughout the site of performance, then, are not value neutral. There's always a certain risk involved, an opportunity to be in one place rather than another. Immersive theater, then, doesn't just present some sort of value neutral freedom. It sets forth a rubric of risk and reward that encourages what Alston calls entrepreneurial participation, a mode of spectatorship that valorizes risk, agency, and responsibility, and as a result, promotes individualism and self-interest. There are games that absolutely promote this sort of entrepreneurial participation. To return to our Half-Life example, the many hidden glimpses of the G-Man that quick and resourceful players are able to catch, if they're absolutely dedicated, is pretty emblematic of this celebration of agency and responsibility. Or for an even more extreme example, we could add something like being in the right place at the right time to recruit every single possible party member in Suikoden 2, thereby getting that game's best ending. But in its unique form of scrubbable narrative, Tacoma rejects the risk-reward dynamics of these games. jettisoning the demands that they make of the player in favor of user-friendly accessibility. The freedom on offer in Tacoma isn't risky freedom. It's more of a flat freedom, because you're always free to rewind, make a different decision on who to follow, and catch up with what you missed. We're not making choices written in stone that will give us a good or bad ending. We're just marinating in the flow of things, moving forward and backward, seeing all that we care to see.
He did not react. He did not fuddle, and he did not react. Operator precisely.
Which is actually quite radical when you think about it. Gone Home ruffled feathers for not being a game. But rather than contest this perception, Fulbright doubles down in Tacoma. They could have easily made your choices on where to go matter more, locking content behind certain decisions. That would have arguably made Tacoma more gamey, as it would have filled it with a sort of risk-reward process that permeates Sleep No More. But at this point, that's clearly not Fulbright's MO. This isn't to say that Tacoma doesn't reward player agency, curiosity, and savviness. Although anyone can use the rewind feature to catch absolutely all of the dialogue in the game, certain parts of the story are better explained for players who take the time to read every email and to unlock some optional doors. Diligent players will learn things about Sarah's history that make her friendship with Odin seem more remarkable, and will illustrate how she has twice now been the victim of Ventura's attempts to exaggerate or outright lie about human error in order to replace human workers with cheaper AI.
Isn't never meeting something else like yourself disadvantageous?
There are organizations that share your viewpoint, but it is my understanding that they have been unable to secure an intact AI to test that theory.
Players who notice Nat's persistent efforts to raise Odin's independence score, perhaps influenced by her general sympathy to the aims of the AI Liberation Front, will be newly appreciative of how her efforts perhaps saved the lives of the Tacoma crew, given that they produced the somewhat rebellious version of Odin that eventually helps the crew out of their predicament.
They don't even give me access to the system I'm supposed to be maintaining. I mean, are you kidding me?
And of course, there's plenty of backstory to absorb about the labor politics of orbital workers and what corporate union-busting efforts look like in the age of AI. Details like these stand as rewards to entrepreneurial players, to borrow Alston's term, and do a lot to clarify the stakes of the story we see playing out.
The orbital worker safety legislation that's soon to pass in OSIP Congress will pave the way for full automation of orbital facilities by AI.
Overall, though, Tacoma is notable in the degree to which it rejects the types of risk and opportunity cost associated not just with immersive theater, but also with the history of game storytelling. The scrubbable narrative of Tacoma shares some similarities with the loop-based storytelling of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and the backtracking allowed by The Last Express. That said, though, neither of those games let you move forward and backward in time quite as effortlessly as Tacoma, and it is in fact difficult to find examples of what Tacoma does, outside of experiments such as Dan Waber's twine piece, A Kiss for Jennifer. Tacoma is a real milestone in the history of staging and presenting interactive narrative, and deserves to be studied and talked about by those interested in the subject. So, go forth and do that. And thanks for watching.